Hi, I'm Lou Crenshaw. I'm a member of the Friends of the Carnegie Library Committee, and for your information, we've established a fund with the Northwest Minnesota Foundation where donations to renovate and save the Carnegie Library are completely tax deductible. And we hope that fund will be, through your generous support, a long-lasting legacy to the community where we'll have enough funds to preserve and keep the Carnegie as a part of our legacy for a very long time. That's not why I've come along, thanks to Upstream TV, today to talk with you. Our committee has helped the city make a proposal to the National Park Service, and we now have the approval of the National Park Service in Washington, D.C. to move the Carnegie Library according to our plans and maintain the building's listing on the National Register of Historic Places. This is an important hurdle. We've, as you know, completed the archaeological study of the area. We now have the approval to move the building and keep it on the register. And so there's nothing in between the community and the renovation of the Carnegie except completing the fundraising for the funds to do it. And we appreciate your help. You know, members of the community, when our committee is out at events and fundraising, people ask us, why are you moving the building and what's the move all about and what are you really going to do? Well, I have here the documentation that we helped the city prepare, and with the help of Upstream TV, we can bring you some of the visuals, the photographs and the drawings. This is our actual proposal, and I'd like to read it to you. We were able to convince the National Park Service to allow us to move the building, and hopefully the story we used with them will be persuasive to you. And if not, get in touch with our committee and let us answer your questions. So I'm going to go through this. I'm afraid I'm going to have to read it. It's not very long. And as I go through it, you'll probably say a few times, well, he's repeating himself, or I wonder why he said it that way. Well, the fact is the National Park Service does not want communities to move historic buildings. And so they have a very rigorous format that you have to follow, and that's what this document follows. And so that's the way I'm going to present it. So this is the documentation of the proposed relocation of the Bemidji Carnegie Library. And it's submitted pursuant to the National Park Service regulations, which I won't read, regarding relocation of properties listed on the National Register. And this documentation was provided to show that there is no feasible alternative for preservation. We had this material first reviewed by the Minnesota State Preservation Office, the Minnesota State Review Board, under an approved state historic preservation program. So we have followed, if you will, all the rules. And by the way, the State Preservation Office not only reviewed and guided us through this process, but sent along as a cover to this document their endorsement for our plan. So here we go, the reasons for the move. The philanthropist Andrew Carnegie provided the funds for the construction of a library in Bemidji in 1908. The city donated a site on the lakeshore in downtown Bemidji in Block B, the original settlement area, and established the site as a city park, designated Library Park. And from the photograph and the drawing that you just saw, our city fathers, forefathers, established this building in a beautiful site right here on Lake Bemidji. So the library opened to the public in 1910, and it served as the city library for over 50 years. In 1980, the building was placed on the National Register of Historic Buildings, one of only 11 sites listed within Beltrami County. I'm now going to address their issue of safety. The Carnegie Library building is located on the west side of Library Park at the intersection of 5th Street and Highway 197. When the library opened, both streets were narrow, and the building had a front lawn with trees between it and the street, as you see in this photograph. But years of successive road widening and improvement projects have eliminated the lawn and left the building directly on State Highway 197. This is now the busiest intersection in the downtown area, with approximately 25,000 vehicles passing through daily. And the edge of the lowest step of the building's main entry stair is less than 5 feet from moving traffic. The front stairs were shortened during one of these road widening projects, and they're steep and difficult to use. Patrons are literally at risk of falling into the traffic when exiting the building. There is no proper landing at the top of the stairs. Accessibility. The Carnegie Library is not an accessible building. The encroachment of the highway means the main front entrance cannot be modified to meet ADA requirements, and the narrowness of the remaining sidewalk does not allow installation of ADA-compliant railings or wheelchair-accessible ramps. Damage to the building facade. In winter, snow and ice thrown from clearing the highway splashes against the building up to a height of 6 feet. Several lower level windows have been broken from the force of thrown snow and have been boarded up. The street side exterior sandstone and brick wall veneer is rapidly deteriorating from exposure to salt and road chemicals and amplified freeze-thaw cycles. The sandstone toward the road is substantially eroded. And despite attempts to improve snow plowing methods, the damage continues to accumulate. Visual and auditory encroachment. The proximity of Highway 197 has significantly and negatively affected the library with visual and audible intrusions. Traffic signal lights hang over the building and destroy the historic visual integrity of the site. Vibration from heavy vehicles and constant noise from traffic and talking crosswalk signals can be felt and heard inside the building. Basically, the road is so intrusive and unpleasant that it destroys much of the pleasure of being in the building. The seemingly insoluble issues of safety, accessibility, and deterioration caused the Bemidji City Council to vote on 2 occasions to demolish the building. Only appeals by concerned citizens have allowed time for a plan to be developed and funding to be raised to save this important historic property. MnDOT Region 2 management and the City of Bemidji administration have reviewed traffic and road change alternatives for the intersection, including one proposed by the Minnesota design team. Unfortunately, all of the alternatives involve traffic restrictions that will not adequately accommodate the volume of traffic that passes through this intersection daily. The conclusion reached was that there are no viable options except demolition or moving the building farther back into the park and away from the road. The effect of the move on the property's historical integrity. The proposed project will relocate the building away from State Highway 197 by moving the building approximately 17 feet east toward the lake. This will reestablish the historical position of the building in relation to the road before it was widened. Construction of a new foundation will improve drainage and eliminate the current problem of water damage to the lower level. The new foundation will also facilitate upgrades for accessibility and energy efficiency. The project plans a complete restoration of the building following the Secretary of Interior's standards for treatment of historic properties. Oversight of the project will be in cooperation with the Minnesota State Historical Preservation Office. The project will restore the original appearance of the front facade, correct public safety concerns, and prevent further deterioration of the exterior stonework. The move will also eliminate the visual and auditory encroachments from the highway and traffic. The interior restoration will reassemble the restored woodwork and other original interior features like the fireplaces, the wainscoting, the radiators, the domed ceiling, and non-original interior modifications will be eliminated. An ADA-compliant secondary entrance will be constructed at the rear of the building, out of visual range of the library's main front elevation. Other than this new entrance and accessible restrooms, the building's historical character and integrity will be preserved. The new sitting and the environment of the proposed site. The building will remain both within the original library park and the original settlement site as when constructed. There is ample open space within Library Park to move the building away from the road, the proposed approximately 17 feet east toward the lake. Library Park and the Carnegie Library building are within Minnesota Archaeological Site, described as it's a previous recorded habitation and cemetery site that has extensive boundaries that incorporate the area from the Mississippi River Inlet to Lake Bemidji up to Diamond Point on the west shore of Lake Bemidji. This is addressing that the Carnegie Library sits on a recognized historic site itself. And I'm going to paraphrase this report here because I'll just remind you that it was necessary to do an archaeological testing and data recovery plan of the site. That has been done. It was a prerequisite to our application to the National Park Service. That has been completed, and any potential adverse effects due to moving the library have been mitigated. So, there are no technical barriers to moving a building of this size and weight or construction materials. The new open space between the library and the road will allow for landscaping that will more closely duplicate the library's original appearance. Situated once more in a true park-like setting, unencumbered from traffic signals and road noise, the building will once again be a pleasure to use and a legacy for the community of Bemidji. Yeah, that was a lot of words, but the bottom line is the National Park Service are allowing us to keep the historical register, and they have accepted that we see no alternative to moving the building except demolishing the building. And many of us in this community, I hope including you, don't want to see that as an option because we have a chance to save this legacy for our future generations and for the future enjoyment of our historic downtown. So once again, I'm Lou Crenshaw. Please do support the Carnegie. I hope that this has helped you understand some of the work of our committee and why, and our proposal for moving the Carnegie Library building. But if you have any questions or would like to talk about it, just get in touch with me or some member of our committee. Thank you very much.